I'm going to give you guys some value now. And the way I'm going to do that is starting off with a story about one of the times that I almost died. I was joining the Mexican Mafia with Tim Larkin. Kidding. It was the other one.
Arian.
Yeah, that one. Yeah. I didn't get in. A couple years ago, I was in Miami with family in the ocean swimming. And you know, when you get together with family sometimes, like my cousin's competitive, right? So we're like thinking of all these crazy things to do. Of course they live there, and they're like, let's go for a swimming contest in the ocean. Now I'm from New Jersey. We have the Jersey Shore, but the water's always cold, so swimming doesn't really play into learning to become a good swimmer in the ocean. Long story short, I'm like, yes, let's go. What do you think happened? I died. No kidding. Got caught in a riptide. Okay? It's the first time it ever happened to me. You hear it on TV, and of course, having been through it already, I know what to do now. But in that moment, all I could think about was, if I could swim as hard as I could back over to the shore, I would survive, and I'd be okay. And what was really happening was, in that moment, I was swimming as hard as I could, and going. And what I found was that I was actually going further and further back out. To the point where I wasn't sure if I had any strength left to get through this riptide. Now, for those of you that know now, and what I know now, how do you get out of a riptide? Exactly right. You actually got to swim sideways, not swim against it, and the difference is probably the difference between life and death. Luckily for me, I was able to just figure it out. I tried something different, and I made it out of that situation. But when you look at entrepreneurship, and you compare that situation to a lot of the situations that we go through and find ourselves in on a regular basis, it all boils down to this. Sometimes it's just the very little tweaks, the very little bits of information that are so important, and mostly important in the situations when you need them, that can make all of the difference on whether or not you succeed or whether or not you fail. You guys with me so far?
Yeah.
All right, good. So, I want to backtrack to my earlier days. And a lot of you guys here that own studios, I'm sure you remember, that's me in the yellow circle in case you couldn't figure it out. I'm the youngest one there. When we all started, there was so much excitement, passion, ready to just take on the world, do what we love, and just provide an amazing service teaching martial arts to people that want to learn it. Now you all resonate with that because we all started with that same passion and excitement, right? And at some point along that journey, we find a situation where we just stop and start to question what it is that we're doing and why we're doing this. So I'm going to share that story with you guys real quick. It wasn't the kid, that would pee on the floor, like Mike says, and you find yourself cleaning up, and as you're cleaning, and you're like, why am I doing this? My story was a little different. It was actually the first time in my life that I was bested by a 12-year-old in front of a group of people. And this particular 12-year-old just happened to be really sharp. Just very smart, sarcastic. You can appreciate it actually in a way. But in the middle of class, we're going through the drill, and every time a female instructor would say something, the kid would respond saying, yes, sir. And every time a male instructor would say something, the kid would respond, yes, ma'am, saying the opposite. So I'm seeing this going on, I'm like, all right, let me take control here. Cinch my black belt on, put my chest up, like, he's 12. It's not going to embarrass anybody else in front of this whole group of people. So I decide to give some education and go into the class, and I go, guys, hold on 1 second. Can anyone here tell me the difference between a sir and a ma'am? And all of a sudden, this young gem of a 12-year-old shouts out, a penis! And I took that in for a second, and I'm like, I guess he's right. Yeah, I don't know what else to say. Parents laughing, kids laughing, and I'm like, shit, you got me. And it was in that moment that I said to myself, is this all there is? Is this it? And we all find a moment like that at some point in our career. And that's when that light switch turned for me. What do these letters stand for here?
Do it yourself.
Shout it out for me.
Do it yourself.
Do it yourself. DIY. It's how most of us started. We were the everything in our companies. We were the marketers, right? If you were like me when you first started, I started 8 years ago, putting flyers on cars, knocking on doors, introducing yourself, doing whatever you could to get in front of people. You were the one answering the phones, doing the intros, teaching the classes, signing people up, all at the same time. Is that right? Yes. And that is the level of passion and that's the level of momentum that you need to create when you are building something from scratch, when you're building something that you want to be long-lasting. Now, in our industry, and I know this just like you guys because I'm in this industry with you, I'm at one martial arts studio and 2 fitness studios, so I get it, and I started every single one of them from scratch, and I've gotten better and better and better with the information that I've received. And what I understand is that passion is so necessary to build a successful beginning. But eventually you're going to get to a crossroad. And this crossroad needs to be at the forefront of your mind. Because when we do DIY, when we do it ourselves, we're taking the role of a soldier. Now, real entrepreneurs, people that are committed to success and building, their focus is not just on being the soldier, it's on being the general. Now that doesn't mean you can't do soldier things when you have to, but if somebody's not thinking of the tactic, the strategy, and how you're going to continue to drive forward the success of your company, what happens is you're going to not make it to where you want to make it, or worse. Raise your hand if you're a black belt in this audience. Raise them high. All right, cool. Put your hands down. Now I'm going to give you a thought to think about. Raise your hand if you think that you are a black belt in entrepreneurship. It's an interesting thought, right? When you think about the most successful entrepreneurs that we can think of, people that were on the stage, people that we know, people that we see on TV, people that really represent a high level of success, if you use that as the measure of them being a black belt entrepreneur, just ask yourself right now, if that's the measure of black belt entrepreneurship, then what rank am I? What rank am I right now if that's the level of black belt entrepreneurship? Now, we all know what we had to do to earn our black belt, and whatever, it's a discussion about curriculum or whatever. The point is, when you got your black belt, you knew you got your black belt, however you did it, however you accomplished it. But the paradigm of becoming a general from a soldier, or becoming an entrepreneur from an instructor, is one that not many of us get to really get and understand when we're pushing ourselves to drive our business to the next level. So what we're going to talk about today are some of the things that have worked for me over the last 3 years that have allowed me to literally triple what I've done in the first 6 years of how we got started. Does that sound good to you guys?
Yeah.
All right. Systems are either laying your groundwork to victory or guiding your path for defeat. Now, it's really important for me to share with you guys what you need to do in order to not remain in the position of being the forever soldier, always being the guy or the girl, and without you, nothing works. If you have been in this situation, you know that it's a very difficult situation to stay in. When you're running your business and you can't take a day off and you're afraid to get sick and you're afraid that if anything happens to you, your business cannot continue to run, then I really want you to pay attention, and we're going to dive in right now. So, step number 1, know your war machine, all right? If you know neither the enemy nor yourself, you will succumb in every battle. This is a quote from The Art of War, which actually Tim Larkin referenced. And the whole message of this quote is for you to understand, specifically in your studio, what the nuts and the bolts are to really put together an effective operation. Who can tell me what this is?
Slingshot.
Obviously, right? If I ask you, how do you use a slingshot? Could you tell me? Super easy, right? What do? Load it up, pull it back, and let it go. Super, super simple. How about this? A gun. More steps than a slingshot, right? If I ask you specifically, can you tell me how this gun works? How does it fire? Maybe half of you would not be able to explain the details of how it works. How about this? A tank. It's just Tim Larkin that's raising his hand. He's the only one that knows how this works. The point is this. With a slingshot, it's 1 or 2 steps. With a gun, it's more. With a tank, it's even more. So the more complex your war machine is, and if you look at your business in this way, the more tweaks it's necessary to make sure that you are focused on the things that drive your business forward. So, what are the systems that are running your business? And my time is moving fast, so I'm going to accelerate these a little bit. Sales, marketing, finance, and operations. If you look at these as the core aspects of every main part of your business, the operations that run your business, everything that I listed under these categories would be the systems that go under these core operations. Now, this does not mean that these are the only aspects of sales or marketing, but these are just some examples of when I'm designing my blueprint of how to take my business to the next level, how to open another location, or how to duplicate what it is that we're doing. It has to come from somewhere. And this is the blueprint that I'm sharing here with you guys. So your homework is to design your own blueprint based on what I'm sharing with you today. So you're starting off by jotting down the major systems, the core operations that your business depends on. That if any one of them were not working the way that they're supposed to, your war machine, your business would break down. The next thing that we're going to focus on is how do we put that into action? How do we enable the action? Now, Cameron Harold shared this yesterday, and I am so 100% in agreement. Obviously, he knows what he's doing. Your systems, your business needs in order to be successful. But we all know that people run our systems, and we heard about having the right people in place. The one thing that I want to share with you guys is how exactly to use those people, whether you're in your team now or people that you're going to be bringing on board. How many of you have ever asked this question before? I'm in the Facebook group, so I know that this is something that just comes up. It's, who's supposed to post on social media? Why don't my instructors post on social media? We all know this is something super simple and basic that's supposed to get done, right? The biggest issue is when we don't actually make it specific for who is accountable. And that's the second key part of running your war machine. If you don't have somebody in place that is accountable, one role for one person, it's so hard to set the major projects and to drive forward the goals and the results that you're looking for in any part of that major system. Who do you call if you need the God of Thunder? Who do you call?
Thor.
You guys know your Marvel that well? Who do you call when you need something smashed?
Hulk.
Who do you call if you need a birthday party system done for you called B9Z? So who is the person accountable for each system, right? And it works very, very simply like this. You're assigning what the responsibilities are to what system it goes to, what results you want to get, and what goals you need to achieve. And when you zoom out, what that looks like is an accountability chart. Super simple, guys, but again, I'm giving you the blueprint on how to design your war machine to be able to accomplish anything in building a location that you would need to know. Cameron said it yesterday. It's not hard, it's simple. But if you're not focused on the things that you need to understand, it does become very hard. So, you guys have your homework. You're going to do the same thing with your accountability chart to all of the people that need to be a part of it. But I'm going to give you a landmine alert. Do not put people in a position where you're holding them accountable to something giving them responsibility, but not giving them the authority that they need to do their job. And we see this mistake time after time, because if you're not giving them the authority, what's happening is you're going to create more frustration, you're going to create more issues, and you're going to be trapped in the things that prevent you, as the general, from being in your 5%. Your 5% is the things that are the most important for you. And the last part of designing this blueprint is putting together your process map. Every single thing on that list is a system, and every system has a process. Just giving you an example of something really simple like the onboarding process. Here's what you can't miss. You have to know where the beginning is, what is happening, and you have to know what the result is. Does that make sense? And you are going to list out every single step from the beginning to the end. And if you don't, this is where you guys have dirty minds. Just, I guess on your notes, just make sure you emphasize the E, so when you go back and read your notes, you're not just saying, where's the G spot? Yeah. Okay, the GE spot. Dan Kennedy, who's been brought up here obviously so many times, he calls the GE spot the good enough spot. And this is something that I want you guys to really wrap your head around, because it's made the difference for me in building my businesses over the last 3 years. The difference between people who are really going to be successful and the ones that stay the same are the ones that are not afraid to take action, even if it's imperfect. If it's good enough to get you near the result you need to get to, keep taking action. You can always go back and improve a system. You can always go back and change a system. What you can't do is overanalyze so that time flies by and you never take the action to keep driving forward those goals. The difference between victory and defeat is in the details. It's in the small things that you do every day. The freedom that we're all looking for when we start our businesses and we're trying to create opportunities for the people that are around us starts from the foundation that we build, and that blueprint is the key to building that strong foundation. So I'm giving you some tactical things that you guys are going to have to leave here and really commit to if you're serious about taking your studio to the next level, or opening a second one or a third one. Because if you can do it once, you can do it again. And if there's other people that have 3, 5, 10 locations, you can too. We're all capable of the same things. And we all have that now, that extra bit of knowledge that I was talking about in the beginning. And if you guys can put that into action, I promise you that what you think you're able to achieve, you're actually able to achieve more. And that's what being in this environment has done for me. So thank you guys very much.